Welcome. What I want to do today is install MySQL on your computer. Right now, I'm dealing with the Windows 10 install, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it just like you would at home. I'll try to explain some of the steps, but first I'll go to my favorite search engine. I'll type MySQL download. And the first one that comes up is dev.mysql.com/downloads. And again, this is Microsoft SQL, MySQL uh, for Microsoft Windows. And what I'll do today is I'll install the small web version. So I'm gonna go ahead and download that community version. And it asks you to sign up for a free Oracle account. You can create one and log in, or you can just click down here, say no thanks, just start my download. I'll do that now for the sake of the video. And when this screen pops up, I'm going to click run just to get that started as soon as possible. Again, I could probably download the entire thing at once, but for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and do this way. We'll still have to download it later, but only with the options that we want and need. And so really what we want to install here is a database. We want to install the database, and now it asks me if I want to use the developer default, and I want to say yes, but maybe let's go ahead and say yes. Use the developer default. So, okay, so it looks like I had this installed already, and so it's giving me a little bit of a complaint. You may or may not have this prompt, probably not, so I'm just going to click next. Are you sure? Yes. So check requirements. So this one's telling me that I need these requirements set up. Just gonna Okay. So it says the following products will be installed. Ready to install, and I'll click execute. I will say that at this point, you may have gotten a prompt where you're missing some sort of you're missing some other things for your install, and it will try to install them for you. We don't really need all of this, so I'm just gonna go back for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and click on custom. I'm gonna see what it is that I'm gonna like remove everything. So that's what that left arrow did. Microsoft SQL Server, that's what I want. And I'm gonna get the latest one, 8.0.18, based on what I downloaded. So I'm gonna add that. So that's the server. That's the key thing. And then the workbench. It's the next key thing. I'm gonna download the same version number for the workbench. And I think that should be enough for what we care about now. I'm gonna go ahead and download that. Execute. And this should actually be a much faster install than if we tried to download everything that we really won't need at this point. So again, the workbench is going to allow us to see see the graphical database, right? Because the database is really just a collection of files and a program that several programs that use those files in a way that's optimized for searching or inserting data. Now it's going to ask me questions about high availability, right? So in this case, we don't care about high availability. We're just simply trying to learn. So we're just going to use the default standalone MySQL Server. Okay. And so I'm going to use the development computer configuration here. And you see this little red mark here on my computer or on my install rather. And what that is telling me is that this port on my computer, so the communication on my computer, something's already using this port. And I know what it is. It's another database product I have installed. So I'm going to change that to 3307. You don't have to do this on your side. And I'll keep that in sync with the other port. I can pick any port. Essentially, I can make it 08. I can make it 43. But I'll just keep it 3307. So it'll be easy to remember. I'll use the default authentication method here. Again, we're not running this as a database server in production. These are things that we probably want to think about if we ever want to take what we're doing here and put it into a production environment. Okay, MySQL root password. I wouldn't share this if it wasn't for learning. So I'm just going to say root 123, root 123. And if I go back, it tells me it's a weak password. Yes, I know. So configure MySQL as a Windows service. Yes. Start. Yes. Sure. Start it up. And I'm going to click next. I don't think this configuration is optimized for security or anything like that. It's really optimized for speed and learning. So the configuration was successful. Click finish to continue. Feel free to stop at any point. Stop the video if you want to read all the prompts. I generally don't. So at the end there, it said, welcome to MySQL Workbench, official graphical user interface, a GUI tool for MySQL. Allows you to design, create, and browse your database schemas, work with the database objects. And what you see here is you're going to see you on your side, you're probably just going to see this one, or you're going to see your local instance of your server. I used the default, which named my server MySQL 80. And as I mentioned before, I also have MariaDB, which is also related to MySQL. I had it installed prior to, and this is the one that was taking up the port 3306. So I can click on that one, or I can click on this one. Obviously, you're going to have MySQL 80 and then whatever port you chose. If you left it in the same default configuration, you'll see 3306. I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to ask me for my root password. Root 123 is what I set mine to. And I'm going to go ahead and select that there. And when I open up the query, this is actually sometimes, and this is for me, I'm actually seeing things that maybe you won't see because maybe I had some files in here from prior installs. If it takes you to a window like this, you probably want to come to this window where schemas. Okay, and so schemas really is a collection of it's basically your database. It's a specific database schema, and we'll go into more detail there. But let's just create a quick database. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to actually go right up here, right click. Actually up here, create new SQL tab. No, that's not what I want. Create a new schema to the connected server is exactly what I want. I want to create a new schema, and I'm going to call it learning. Just simple learning schema. And we're going to put all of our tables and other information into that schema. And the great thing about this tool is that it actually tells you what the command is that it's going to run. So all of this graphical interface, all of my clicking really translates into some sort of SQL syntax that you can then apply later. I'm going to click apply, finish. And so when I do that, when I finish that, you'll see that we have a learning schema here. I'm going to right click, see if we have any tables here. Okay, we don't have any tables. Oh, and I forget to mention, this sys schema is really for the MySQL. MySQL keeps information about itself in a database. So that's interesting about users and other tables and other functionality. We won't go into specifics on that, but certainly something that you can use in the future. And let's just create no default schema. Excuse me. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna right click on the schema, and I'm gonna click on set as default schema. So that's gonna set my default schema to learning. Then I'm gonna click up here and says create. Nope, not that one. I say create a new table in the active schema in the connected server. Okay, great. Okay, my new table is just gonna be, I'm gonna call it, what should we call it? We should call it cars. Okay, and my first column, I like going with car ID, and I'm gonna go over this quick in a future video, but essentially I'm gonna give it a car ID, and then I'm just gonna give it a name. I want my car to have a name, and that name is gonna be a character. It's gonna be characters, and I want it to be 100 characters at most, and I want that name to always be provided. I'm gonna delete this last one. And so it's a very simple table. So simple. So I'm going to add a comment. Cars table. First table. If you're following along, please feel free to pause the video, type this out. And we're going to go over what all of these columns mean in another video. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply. And as you imagine, when I click apply, it's going to give me MySQL command where I'm creating a table within a certain schema, the name of the table, the name of my first column, the fact that it's an integer and not null, the name of my second column, which is name, that's varchar, not null, and that my primary key is car underscore ID, and then I have a comment on this table. I'm going to go ahead and click apply. I'm going to click finish. And as you can imagine, on the left here, you'll see that now we have a table called cars. And if I click on the arrow, I can see details about this table, columns, indexes, foreign keys, and triggers. Indexes, foreign keys, and triggers we haven't added. We did add columns, and you'll see those available here. So again, this is just us getting the environment installed, getting the MySQL Server installed, and getting MySQL Workbench installed as well. Please join us for the next videos where we go over some of the SQL commands, how we would do them in MySQL Workbench, and what some of these fields mean. Thanks again for joining.